Yeah, this is not a surprise. This is not a surprise. And I think the days are numbered for either. I'm going to be honest. I think the days are numbered for either Stephanie White or Caitlin Clark. So there's going to be a lot of Stephanie White videos over the next 2 days. And it is, it's one of those things where we got to talk about it because they're both on the hot seat. And the reason is that Stephanie White has shown that she can work miracles with a team of misfits. That includes like Kelsey Mitchell and Leah Boston. Stephanie White has not proved that she can win a game with Caitlin Clark. Or she can win games with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark has not proved that she can play in Stephanie White's system. It is what it is. And it's one of those things where I don't think people realize that with this happening, to what you call it, if you're going to fire Stephanie White, you are, by doing that, you're firing the entire front office. I don't think people understand the Fever's front office is is basically they're all somewhat involved, somewhat linked to the 2012 championship. And is the one championship this organization has won. So you are basically saying we are choosing Caitlin Clark over every bit of history the organization has had. And doing that in 2024 makes sense. But doing that when you've got your when you've already now like signed your you've already sold your tickets. You've already sold all of your tickets. You've already gained from the Caitlin Clark mania more than most people. Like, you've already gained from the mania. Everything that is there to be done has happened. And Caitlin Clark, during a timeout, as you can see here, Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White stream at Caitlin, and Caitlin is just like, nah. And that's the one thing. Like, look, I don't love this from Caitlin, by the way. I don't love this. And it's one of these things where, like, I think a lot of coaches are in, like, would be in like a similar boat when it comes to like to the way Steph White is, a lot of players would be on a similar boat where it's like when a coach is giving out to you for what you believe is no reason, as a player, you kind of you just sometimes have to take it. And Caitlin Clark clearly is not that type of player. And look, I'm going to be honest. That is like, this is not a positive thing about Caitlin Clark that she's snapping back at her coach. Like, you don't want to see that. You absolutely don't want to see that. It is one of these things where you've got, like, as a player, Caitlin has got to be Caitlin's got to be better. Caitlin's got to do better than that. And when it comes to Steph White, there has been a lot of situations we have seen in these arguments where I don't like this for a player, when it's like, the player, you can be in the right, but you're still in the wrong. And obviously this is an argument about defense. And Caitlin Clark is basically just, because she keeps, I mean this when I say this, you've seen it on the sideline, Caitlin Clark is freaked that she's getting singled out on defense. Like, there was a defensive possession where Ty Harris fucked up and she got singled out. Like, you can tell when a person's just pissed off in situations, and you can tell that Caitlin Clark is not happy with the fact that Stephanie White regularly singles her out on defense. Like, it's not like an uncommon occurrence that Stephanie White decides that something's gone wrong, therefore it's Caitlin Clark's fault, even when Caitlin Clark's been put in a bad position. That being said, you shouldn't be snapping your coach during the game. Like, especially because, again, you can see this right here. Caitlin Clark, she's screaming at Caitlin Clark to start this off. And it's like, yeah, some players can take it. Yeah, coaches are going to be tough with players. But you can see, like, again, I don't know. From the outside looking, this is what it appears to be. It appears that with all of these things now, is that Caitlin Clark seems just to be pissed because it does seem like from the outside looking in, she is being singled out. Like Stephanie White wouldn't be like this, isn't going to be like this when Lexi Holds doesn't play defense. She's not going to be like this when KK Timpson goes through spells in the game where she forgets she's actually a basketball player and just kind of stands there and watches as someone grabs the ball in front of her. She's not going to go mad at Kelsey Mitchell, who doesn't play defense either, who plays less defense than Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark just seems to be done. She just seems to be over it. She absolutely seems to be over it. I don't know what's going on. I hope she's okay off the floor. I don't know if this is a purely like Caitlin Clark situation with Stephanie White. I don't know if this is a situation where where Caitlin and Steph are, if this is just a, okay, we'll figure this out situation. If this is the relationship is done situation. If this is just a coach and a player talking about it. But it's happening too often now. And that something's got to change. Something's got to change. And again, it could very well be a case that Caitlin Clark is she's just over it. And it could also be a case where when it comes to it with Caitlin Clark, where this is just, normal interactions. But this has happened too often in recent times where I'm like, you can't really overlook this. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to be real. I think you can, especially when you're looking at some of the things with Caitlin, and you're like, you can see the coaches are singling her out. And it's understandable on a human level why she's pissed. But on a team level, it's not good when a player is regularly getting into arguments on the bench with their coaches. It's not going to work out. And the Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White days, I think are coming to a ugly close. They're coming to an ugly close. She's not going to go full on Matt Johnson. Oh yeah, I never even finished the clip. As they're getting into it, she just goes, yeah, you're coming off. Raven, you're coming in. Caitlin, you're out. And Dan just trying to console Caitlin. At the end of the day, look, I don't know if Stephanie White's lost the locker room. I think Stephanie White's lost Caitlin Clark. I think I think it's a fair thing to say that Stephanie White has probably lost Caitlin Clark. And I think when it's all said and done, you can make a choice as a front office on who to keep. And I'm not even going to be someone that's going to be out here saying that the Indiana Fever need to, choose, that the Indiana Fever need to choose Caitlin over Steph, because I'm sorry, Steph is the organization. Stephanie White was the assistant coach when this team last got to it. She was the head coach when this team last got to a finals. She was the head coach, by the way, of even before last season. She was the head coach of the previous playoff series they won. Stephanie White has been and Lynn Dunn have been the two winningest coaches in this franchise history. And Lynn Dunn obviously was is somebody that is Lynn Dunn, obviously somebody that we talk about Lynn Dunn as a all-time great, which she is. And if we're being real, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White are, as humans, I think there's a level of respect there. There's just too many times they have gone at each other now. And My guess is that Caitlin Clark, because it's always in these situations, it's always in similar situations. My guess is that Caitlin Clark is sick of being singled out. That is my guess, because there are a lot of situations where Caitlin doesn't make a mistake, and knowing people that are never not to the level of Caitlin Clark is in basketball, but like I know guys that played super high level. I know guys that have played at the international level. I know guys that have played elite level pros. It is not an uncommon thing when you're at a super high level and your coach is directly picking on you for a player to take issue with it. It is not uncommon for a player to take issue with being singled out by a coach. And you can see it with coaches. There's been so many times where they've pulled over Caitlin to give out to Caitlin. Caitlin's kind of clapped back a bit. And nearly always, it is when there's some form of defensive breakdown and they're looking for a scapegoat, and Caitlin's been that scapegoat. Maybe I'm wrong, but obviously she's saying putting up her hands. I'm guessing it's like, well, you need to start playing defense. You need to stop fouling. And she's like, well, I'm putting up my hands and they're calling fouls. And then she's obviously stepwise very pissed because Caitlin's in foul trouble. And at the end of the day, if this was a one-off, you're losing to the Portland Fire by 20. It's to be expected that people are losing their damn minds. You're down to the Portland Fire by 20. This has now happened twice in a week. Or twice in the last, 4 games. It's not good. It's not good. You don't want to see it. And especially with the fact that the Fever blew out the Portland Fire in Indiana, albeit a Portland Fire who are a completely different team home and away, but also Portland Fire who lost by 20 yesterday and we're playing on a back-to-back. Conversations are going to need to be had. And I'm going to be real. Like, people are saying, oh, this is a Magic Johnson, Paul Westhead. But this would be like Magic Johnson and Paul Westhead if that whole situation happened. Except instead of Paul Westhead, Magic Johnson fought with Jerry West, who while the GM was Elgin Baylor, and the club president was whoever the fucking coach of the Minneapolis Lakers was when they won all their rings, and the assistant coach was George Mikan. There's a difference there. So yeah, I don't see Caitlin. I don't think Caitlin lasts the season. I really don't. Because I think one of them's gone, and I think it's going to be Caitlin. Genuinely, I think it is.